Remember, serious wrongdoings may be a crime, opening you up to prosecution. We will not hesitate to press charges when discovering serious wrongdoings. In terms of our code, certain role players are tasked with specific responsibilities regarding the enforcement of the Code of Ethics. If you are ever unsure of how to act in a situation, you can talk to the company's Chief Financial Officer or General Counsel. Your Uncle Joe repairs and stocks printers and has just opened his own company. You've made a verbal agreement with an existing supplier, but you know that your uncle is a much harder worker and will offer a more reasonable fee. Record any conflicts in the conflicts register. Managers must keep written records of all declared conflicts of interest. This register must be available to the company's general counsel or audit committee. Your manager must give written approval for any benefit to you from transactions with suppliers. Management must keep these details either at the corporate office or at each of the operations. Record all details of any approved external engagement in this register. Management must keep this register at corporate office or at each of the operations. Prudent corporate governance requires that board and exco members obtain independent professional advice to make sure the standards and principles in the Code of Ethics are upheld. Let's look at another practical example. Your cousin works under you at the mine and you must make an official announcement about bonuses that will affect him. You know your cousin is busy applying for a bond and was planning on using his bonus to cover the transfer fees. What should you do? Never disclose or use confidential information for any purpose other than fulfilling your duties. You are not allowed to speak or lecture on any subjects relating to the company without written consent from the exco. Mary, a long-time employee, is active in her community and has been asked to speak at a local university about general mining operations and career opportunities. Mary has not been asked to speak specifically about her duties at the company. As a company, we do not make political contributions in cash or in kind, unless these contributions are approved in advance by the Board of Directors, permissible under local law, not made with any promise of favorable treatment in return, accurately disclosed in the books of the company. Bribery involves the payment of money to government officials for routine services to which the company would otherwise be legally entitled. Bribery payments are strictly forbidden and go against our Code of Ethics. Note: bribery is also explicitly forbidden in both South Africa and United States law, since it is a criminal offense. We all understand that giving and receiving gifts can create goodwill and build business relationships, but with a caution, there is no such thing as a free lunch in business. You cannot give or accept any favors, gifts, or business courtesies that might compromise your professionalism or impartiality to act with integrity and in the best interest of the company. Remember, perceptions are important. Impartiality requires you to make objective decisions. Integrity requires you to act in an honest manner. As a rule, you may not receive any gifts and business courtesies such as cash, discounts, or vouchers from any of our current or potential suppliers, customers, or competitors. You may, however, accept novelty or advertising items up to 1,000 Rand, such as wine, calendars, pens, diaries, and ties. If the value is more than 1,000 Rand, you must get approval from a company exco member. A conflict of interest arises when you or a colleague are in a position where personal interests are, or appear to be, in conflict with those of the company. A conflict of interest arises when you or a colleague are in a position where personal interests are, or appear to be, in conflict with those of the company. Remember, if you accept any gift, no matter how small, you must record that in the gifts register immediately. This is to protect you against suspicion of wrongdoing. Since hospitality and social engagement plays a valuable role in building business relationships, how must we deal with hospitality, such as meals, attendance at sporting events or shows, hunting and fishing trips, or other recreational trips? Always get written clearance from an Exco member before accepting an invitation of more than 1,000 Rand. If you don't get permission, decline the invitation politely and explain the company policy in this regard. And what if they offer to pay my business travel expenses? Travel, excluding short bus and coach travel, accommodation and living expenses, should always be covered by the company, never by any current or potential supplier or customer. Never accept any invitation which may influence your integrity, professionalism, or judgment in relation to business decisions and relationships. You regularly get invited to lunch by one of your key suppliers. When you arrive at the restaurant, you realize that this is way above the price range of what you might usually have with a supplier. What should you do? In this case, the rule is clear. You may not use services and property for private purposes, without the written approval of your manager. Respect company property. Avoid any waste or unnecessary use of assets or resources. Do not use company property and resources for anything other than the purpose intended, unless it is with the consent of your manager. In addition, note that no one, employees, officers, or directors, may do the following without the written approval from their manager or the chairman of the audit committee. Exploit opportunities that present themselves because of information obtained by your position within the company. Use company property, information, or position for personal gain. Compete with the company in any way. When dealing with company property, always ask yourself whether you are being responsible and accountable. Importantly, consider whether you are willing to accept the consequences of using company property for anything other than work. Tabu works for HR and is having quite a day. His daughter phones in a panic. She's forgotten to print a big project for school. She asks if he can print several A4 pages in full color at work. What should he do? In simple terms, you may not give or offer, authorize or accept, directly or indirectly, anything of value such as a bribe or kickback for obtaining an improper personal or business advantage that might create the appearance of impropriety. Bribe refers to anything of value such as cash, a cash equivalent, a gift or other benefit or advantage that is offered or received in order to obtain an improper advantage, or to encourage the recipient of the bribe to misuse his or her position. Kickback refers to the illegal payment of money or something of value in exchange for favorable treatment or secretive work. Impropriety means behavior which is dishonest, rude, socially unacceptable, or unsuitable for a specific situation. When it comes to bribes, remember that a bribe could be made before or after a decision to award a contract or license. Whenever you encounter a bribe, stop all dealings with that party immediately. Never use your position to give or gain a personal benefit to or from a third party. Take note that the mere offering of a bribe is wrongful, even if the bribe is not accepted. Report any bribery attempts from third parties to your manager, who must keep a written record. You wake up and your house is flooded because your geyser has burst overnight. Everything is a mess, but it's a work day and you need to be at work in the next hour. What should you do? A. You decide to call in sick since you have so many sick days owed anyway. B. Consult with your manager on what to do. It's best to be honest with management always. C. You call your colleague that lives close by and ask him to clock in for you. You're not busy and no one will notice. In this instance, option B is the correct response. Never lie about the number of hours that you have worked or take any leave which you are not supposed to take. Unauthorized leave and abuse of any sick leave is a breach of the Code of Ethics and may result in disciplinary action. Any payment of monies made in error or to which you are not entitled must be reported to your manager without delay. Payments include overpayments and payments made to third parties. The following are serious and potentially dismissible offences. Wrongfully authorizing payments when you are not authorized to do so, i.e., you work in finance. Aiding a payment error to an employee or third party. Receiving any money benefits in exchange for facilitating a payment error. Taking advantage of payment errors or not reporting them is a dismissible offense. If you are having difficulty understanding any payments, please seek the advice of your manager. Make sure all advisors, purchase contracts, tender awards, and suppliers of goods or services are of good standing and integrity. Never use the company's power for personal gain. Insolvency. Any employee who works in finance, any officer and any director whose estates are provisionally or financially sequestrated, or who have been declared provisionally or financially insolvent, must disclose this fact to their manager. Misconduct. Any director, officer, or employee who has previously been removed from a position of trust because of misconduct, or who is convicted of theft, fraud, forgery, or any offense involving dishonesty, must disclose this fact to their manager. Take proper care of company property since you are accountable for all company monies, checks, documents, and property in your possession during payments for goods and services. You may only effect payments for goods and services when an original invoice is presented, it has been authorized by the relevant supervisor, and after the receipt has been verified. Any exception must be authorized by your manager. We encourage all employees to own shares in the company, but it remains your personal responsibility to make sure that your share dealings follow all applicable laws and stock exchange regulations. When dealing with company shares, please stick to the following guidelines. All employees that have access to price-sensitive and confidential information must obtain clearance from their manager regarding Sibanye shares. It is a criminal offense to deal in or encourage or discourage anyone else to deal in shares based on price-sensitive information gained as an insider. If you or your immediate family member want to buy shares or securities in current suppliers, competitors, customers, or business associates of Sibanye, get prior written approval from your manager. There are closed periods when dealing in company shares that will be made known from time to time and are binding. All members of the board and directors of major subsidiaries must report all their dealings in company shares in writing to the company secretary by no later than close of business on the day immediately after the transaction. This includes all dealings by spouses, minor children, or by trusts or entities in which they or any of them have a controlling interest.